Should that roof have been secure, period?
That building in particular has a sloped roof at its highest point. And so, there's a safety factor that would be considered there, that we wouldn't want to put somebody up on a sloped roof. And so, the decision was made to secure the building from inside.
The cover-up, the lies continue. A sloped roof prevented the Secret Service from doing its job. They've never stood on sloped roofs before. A lot to get to today here on the Vince Coglianese Show. Caroline Sunshine from the Trump campaign joins us at 3:30. Margot Cleveland from the Federalist is here at 4:30. And then at 5 o'clock, Tony Schaefer joins us. You can join us, 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. The voice you just heard, Secret Service Director Kim Cheadle on ABC this week. I guess that's the first safe place she felt like she could speak in public, telling what is obvious to every listener a lie. The Secret Service cannot stand on sloped roofs. Just to double check, I spent the morning staring at photos from all of human history. Actually, no, just U.S. history with the Secret Service, of Secret Service agents standing on roofs, counter sniper teams everywhere. Trump events, Biden events, White House, when they're away, everywhere you have snipers, counter sniper teams on sloped roofs. They practice on sloped roofs. They're very familiar with how to stand on a sloped roof as they defend protectees of the Secret Service. In fact, on the day that Trump was shot in the head, just to remind everyone, Trump was shot in the head on Saturday. I don't know if everyone has the context for this. Shot in the head Saturday. The counter sniper team that we all saw in the pictures and videos that ended up taking down the 20-year-old who apparently opened fire on the president and others in that crowd, those guys were on a sloped roof, which had a steeper incline than the one that the shooter started taking shots from. So it's just stupid. Don't insult our intelligence by going on national television and saying, oh, well, it was dangerous, there was a sloped roof. After the shooter was taken down, guess what photos we got to see? Oh, that's right. Law enforcement standing all over that roof, standing over the body of the guy that they just gunned down. How did they do it? What kind of acrobatics did it require for them to stand on a sloped roof? What a stupid explanation from the Secret Service director. And I'm here to tell you that at this hour, what I'm hearing, my sources are telling me, that Secret Service officials all across that agency want her to go. The Secret Service is furious. All sorts of rank and file members, including senior members, are furious that this woman is still the head of the Secret Service. And they want to see her go. And it's not hard to see why. If your organization's single job is to accomplish, the only mission you have is to protect the people under your care. If that's the only mission, and if you fail in that mission in the most theatrical possible way, which is Donald Trump gets shot in the head and he's supposed to be protected, you have to go. I don't care how good you think you are. I don't care how prepped you think you were. I don't care whether or not you brought lunch on a routine basis to the office and tried to buy everybody's support. I don't care what the circumstances are. If you fail in that mission as a leader, you said in this very same ABC interview, you said the buck stops with you. It sure does. Resign. And for Donald Trump, for Joe Biden and for Alejandro Mayorkas to come out and say they have full confidence in the Secret Service director, what a complete and utter scam. An utter scam. President Trump identified this particular problem with Biden a while ago. Remember, on that debate stage, the debate stage on which Biden failed so miserably, Trump pointed out one of Biden's many weaknesses, his inability to hold literally anyone accountable, literally anybody accountable for their failures. Stand by. I've got this audio for you. I wanted to play this for you. This is Donald Trump at the debate saying that you never fire anybody. Afghanistan, you never fire anybody. Here it is. Take a listen. This is President Trump.
He doesn't fire people. He never fired people. I've never seen him fire anybody. I did fire a lot. I fired Comey because he was no good. I fired a lot of the top people at the FBI, drained the swamp. They were no good. Not easy to fire people. You'd pay a price for it, but they were no good. I inherited these people. I didn't put them there. I didn't put Comey there. He was no good.
Unlike Kim Cheadle, who was selected by Jill Biden and her staff for the role. Oh, she liked this woman, Kim. Kim served on her detail. She has good feelings about her, so she should be the Secret Service director. Why is Jill in charge of the government?
Fired him. This guy hasn't fired anybody. He never fires. He should have fired every military man that was involved with that the Afghanistan horror show.
Yeah.
The most embarrassing moment in the history of our country.
Yeah.
He didn't fire. Did you fire anybody? Did you fire anybody that's on the border that's allowed us to have the worst border in the history of the world? Did anybody get fired for allowing 18 million people, many from prisons, many from mental institutions? Did you fire anybody that allowed our country to be destroyed?
Did you fire anybody? So just a few weeks ago, President Trump asking the obvious question, where's the accountability here? And now that question once again looms. Where's the accountability here? Did you fire anybody? Is Kim Cheadle going to be fired? No, instead, it's the opposite. We have a cover-up being orchestrated. The Department of Homeland Security has taken over communications for the Secret Service, a sub-agency of DHS. They're blocking Secret Service from giving meaningful information to Congress as Congress is demanding answers about how a presidential candidate was shot in the head on Saturday. And now we're hearing that they're putting up a fight on whether or not Kim Cheadle's even going to be testifying. So Congress, led by House Speaker Mike Johnson, sending subpoenas and saying she is going to testify. You better get your butt into Congress. And if Congress means it, they should, and they fail to show up, you should sprint through contempt proceedings. I mean, utterly sprint through contempt proceedings. And we've had this conversation lately about inherent contempt, where Congress actually puts the cuffs on somebody and brings them in. Do it. Rush. It couldn't be more important. And time is of the essence. If Donald Trump is going to be protected for the remainder of this campaign, and if we're going to rely on the Secret Service to do it, we have to have clear answers about what failed and clear confidence that it's not going to happen again. It's the most obvious thing in the world. The American people deserve it. All these people who constantly tell us about how they want to protect democracy, then do it. Protect it. Protect our republic. Now, we're finding out more information about how all of this went down on Saturday. And the timeline is just crazy. It's just absolutely crazy. Did you know that they had eyes on this guy for at least 3 hours? I was able to tell you yesterday, we knew that they had eyes on him for at least around half an hour, just shy of half an hour is what we were told. That was the time period in which law enforcement was taking pictures of him, like teenage girls seeing a celebrity. They were just taking pictures of him from a distance. Why were you taking pictures? Why didn't you go right up to him? Fine, take a picture, of course. Save the document. But then go right up to him and say, "Sir, what are you doing? Sir, where are you going? Who are you? What's your name? Do you have any identification on you? What are you carrying with you?" Anything like that? Anything whatsoever? Instead, you're standing at a distance taking photos from him and photos of him and then sending them to higher headquarters. Hey, just in case anybody's concerned, there's a mysterious dude walking around. How about you talk to him? You're a law enforcement officer. Badge, gun, the whole 9 yards. Go talk to the kid. Find out what's going on. Why wasn't that happening? CNN reports that this guy, Crooks, got through security through a magnetometer 3 hours earlier with a rangefinder. With a rangefinder. What do you need a rangefinder for when you're going to watch a presidential candidate speak? What in the world would you need a rangefinder for in an innocent circumstance like that at that rally? CNN, Trump shooter requested Saturday off from work, told colleagues he'd be back at work Sunday, officials say, because he had something to do, end quote, according to multiple law enforcement officials. Let's see. They haven't been able to identify a motive, they claim, but they're piecing together his activities. By 3 p.m. on Saturday, roughly 3 hours before the shooting, Crooks was at the security screening area for the rally. He first aroused suspicion when he passed through the magnetometers, metal detectors, carrying a rangefinder, which looks similar to a small pair of binoculars and is used by hunters and target shooters to measure distances with setting up a long-range shot, according to a senior law enforcement official briefed on the investigation. The rangefinder would not have prevented Crooks from getting through the security screening point. Oh, of course not. Why would a rangefinder prevent you from moving through security? You know, any other suspicious things? It's so crazy. But it did attract the attention of security personnel who kept an eye on him. What good was that? You kept an eye on him until he left the secure area. Investigators are unsure of where Crooks went after he left the screening area, but the working theory is that he went to his car to retrieve the rifle. Okay, but does that take 3 hours to do? 3 p.m. he arrives. He goes through the magnetometer. He's found with a range finder. Did they have a conversation with him then? Was there any chatter with him at that point? What is this? Oh, it's a rangefinder. Okay, carry on. What? Like, what was that moment? Why don't we have more details about that? He's inside the secure area for some unspecified amount of time, and then he leaves. And they watched him while he was in the secure area, but then they gave up, I guess, after he left. And they suspect now that during that intervening period, he went and got his gun. Well, what gave you that idea? What led you to that conclusion? Oh, he got his gun during that. Why would you believe? Of course he got his gun. He had a gun, didn't he? When he was firing on the president? Yeah. So at some point between leaving the magnetometer and then shooting at Trump, he got his gun. Yes, excellent work, detective. I'm glad you were able to suss that out. Around the same time, witnesses alerted police that Crooks was crawling on the roof of the American Glass Research Building. Okay. CNN is not doing a good job of reporting out this story because when they say around the same time, what they're referencing is the time that Trump was shot. Around the same time. They don't declare that. I presume they don't mean 3 hours earlier. Witnesses alerted police that he was crawling on the roof of the building. Of the American Glass Research Building, one of the four counter sniper teams observed Crooks looking at their position through the rangefinder. So he's looking at them, and they're looking back. Here's what the official says, senior law enforcement official, quote, "They were looking at him while he was looking at them." Okay, so what does that mean? What happens next? Why aren't we getting these answers? Also, you remember that story about the ladder? He went and bought a ladder at Home Depot. Have you heard this? He went to Home Depot, he bought a ladder, and the belief was that he brought the ladder to the site and used it to scale the building. Now, ABC News is reporting today that Crooks does not appear to have actually used that ladder to climb on the roof, and that the ladder was not found at the scene. Now, if you've been on social media, you've seen a picture probably of a ladder, a tall one, leaning against the building. And one would assume, and what I've seen today is that's what law enforcement used to get up the building to get to the top. So you have photos from the scene of a ladder leaning against the building. But he apparently purchased a 5-foot ladder, a much shorter ladder at Home Depot. And now law enforcement sources are claiming they didn't find that at the scene. There's that. And then this. Just in the last hour, we have 2 updates that come to us from the district attorney of Butler County, Pennsylvania. His name's Richard Goldinger. And now he is saying 2 new pieces of information about what local law enforcement officials did during this saga, what they were up to. I actually have a ton to share with you. We'll do that in just a moment. A lot of local information coming out now from Butler, Pennsylvania about how Donald Trump got shot Saturday. Here is Township Manager Tom Knights speaking to, I think this is NBC. This is an NBC interview. And here's what he had to say about what those local cops did as they tried to navigate their way towards Crooks.
He did, in fact, see an individual on the roof with a weapon.
He saw the shooter.
He did.
Your officers are on patrol. They hear that there is a suspicious person on the rooftop. What did your officers do?
So our officers in the area started to converge on the building. My understanding is they did a full perimeter walk of the building. Weren't able to see up on the roof. 2 of the officers went to what appeared to be the lowest point from ground to roof. One of the officers actually boosted the second officer up high enough for him to grab hold of the roof. When he was able to pull his head up over the roof, he did in fact see an individual on the roof with a weapon.
He saw the shooter.
He did.
And what did the shooter do?
Turned towards him, had the barrel of his weapon pointed at the officer.
At that point, the officer's hanging on
Yes.
to the side of the roof?
Yes.
Unable to pull a gun out.
Unable to
Defend himself. Unable to reach his radio.
Any of that. Yeah. Strictly defensive movement for him to lower his head, duck, lost his own grip, right? Fell approximately 8 feet to the ground.
That's a steep drop.
It's a good drop, yes.
Did he get hurt?
He did.
In that moment, did they realize there's a threat right now to the former president.
They did. So both the boosting officer and the officer that fell were both on the radio, indicating that there was an individual on the roof that did, in fact, have a weapon.
Who did they radio?
So there was a blanket tactical channel being
Everyone
used.
heard it.
Everyone that was on that tactical channel heard it. Yep.
Okay, this is important. Was the Secret Service on that channel?
Yes.
How much time between that radio communication and the gun being fired at the former president?
That I don't have that information.
He doesn't have that information. That's critical information, and this is knowable information. They have the recordings of that scanner chatter. They know when that call was made. They know when those two officers picked up those radios and started talking into that blanket tactical channel that you heard him refer to just now and say, we've got a shooter on the roof. If the answer to that question is that there was 2 seconds between that call and those shots, that could explain why it took a moment for the Secret Service to respond. They didn't respond until the shots are fired. But if the answer to that question is 15 seconds, we've got a brand new component to a huge scandal here. If cops are able to say there's a shooter on the roof aiming at the president, the protectee, and you've got 15 seconds, how does that message not get to those Secret Service agents and Trump not get pulled off that stage at that very moment? Never mind the fact that they were already suspicious of this guy and apparently had lost track of him. They were taking pictures of him, and Trump should have never been on that stage in the first place. Lots of questions. Additionally, now we have a local district attorney, Richard Goldinger, telling us 2 things this afternoon. One, there was a local sniper who also took a shot at Crooks. It wasn't just the Secret Service sniper. Yet another sniper apparently took a shot at this guy on the roof. It is not clear whether or not he made contact. That's one thing we've learned today. Additionally, the Washington Post reporting here, this same district attorney now says that local police alerted the Secret Service before Trump's rally. They lacked the resources to actually guard that building before the rally. They warned the Secret Service, we don't have the resources. Okay, well then why wasn't it guarded? Why didn't the Secret Service pick up the slack? The Secret Service knew that it was vulnerable, and they let it go anyway. It's only piling up. We'll keep asking questions. I've got a lot more. And coming up, Caroline Sunshine from the Trump campaign, moments away. Hey, good afternoon. It is 3:35 here at News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. Coming up, Margot Cleveland will join us from the Federalist at 4:30, and then we get Tony Schaefer at 5 o'clock. It'll be good to talk to both of them. It'll be good to talk to you at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. Also, I was telling you just before the break that now we're finding out in Butler County, Pennsylvania, that local cops warned the Secret Service they didn't have the resources to protect the building from which the shooter popped off. And that seems like an issue. Local police alerted the Secret Service, the Washington Post reports, before former President Donald Trump's rally Saturday. They lacked the resources to station a patrol car outside that building, where the gunman later positioned himself and shot at Trump, according to local and federal law enforcement. Richard Goldinger, the district attorney in Butler County, where the Trump rally took place, said the Secret Service, quote, was informed that the local police department did not have the manpower to assist with securing that building. Goldinger's account was confirmed by a Secret Service official briefed on the incident, who spoke on the condition of anonymity to be candid about a sensitive ongoing investigation. In other words, to speak out of school. That's what they're saying. It wasn't an official statement from the Secret Service. It was somebody else. The Secret Service official confirmed that positioning an officer outside the building was considered one of the ways to protect against the risk that the agency prepares for at all public events, that a shooter on high ground has a clear line of sight to the president or other senior officials being protected. The building, owned by AGR International, was just outside the security perimeter for Saturday's rally. Okay, so the locals say, we don't have the resources for this. They tell the Secret Service. What is Kim Cheadle saying about, this is the head of the Secret Service, what does she say about the resources assigned to Trump? Oh, she says they've been increasing, right? Didn't we find out yesterday that there's been a threat from Iran against Trump so meaningful that they've increased the Secret Service detail to protect Trump? So where were they? Where were they? So the locals didn't have enough people, and apparently the Secret Service didn't have enough people, and yet we're told with a straight face, oh, no, they're being covered. There's a lot more people covering them. CNN actually asked about this, and here's how Kim Cheadle responded.
Part of his, from the intelligence to the counter-assault team to the detail agents, the shift agents, I mean, every element, top to bottom, of the advance in the operation, was every element increased after you learned of this credible threat?
What we increased was what we felt was appropriate for the former president and for that particular event on that day. We have been increasing the assets and the resources and the staffing that we have been providing to the former president since he was a presidential candidate and then the presumptive nominee. That's what I can tell you.
That sounds like a no.
I am not saying a no at all. I'm saying that we have continued to increase the resources that we've been providing.
Even CNN can smell the bull crap coming out of that answer. She's like, did you increase all the security? Blah, 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 blah. Why are you talking so much? The answer is yes or no. So that sounds like a no. That sounds like I didn't say the word no. Nice. Excellent work. All right, let's take a pause from that issue, a big issue, and get to what's happening right now in Milwaukee, a big Republican convention. It's been just an amazing thing to watch these last few nights. Here to discuss, Caroline Sunshine. She's a Trump campaign deputy communications director and joins us on the phone. Caroline, good to have you with us again.
Great to be with you. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Of course, our audience is very concerned about how the president is doing in light of the fact that he was shot on Saturday by this assailant. Knowing him, working with him, give us an assessment. How's he doing?
President Trump is in high spirits because he is a remarkable man. I mean, the only thing that is more remarkable than the assassination attempt on his life that President Trump survived is, of course, his reaction in the moments after, his display of strength with blood still on his face, very much still in danger. He gets to his feet and he says, fight, fight, fight. And he didn't say that for a specific type of voter. He didn't say it for a specific type of American. He said it for our country. Really, really appreciative to the American people for their prayers, for their thoughts with President Trump. They are very much with him. One of the first things President Trump had to say in the hours after the assassination attempt on his life was he said, just tell my people that I love them. And he wanted to come to Milwaukee. He gave us a directive. We're not going to slow anything down. We're not going to go late. We're going to go right on time. Yeah. He's been here, as you have seen the last couple of nights. Incredible reaction from the crowd. But I might also still add that while we are in very high spirits because President Trump is in such high spirits, President Trump's love and his thoughts and our thoughts are also with the family of Corey Comparator. He, of course, was killed by the assassin's bullet at our rally in Pennsylvania. Corey died protecting his wife and his child. He was a firefighter in his community. When President Trump says fight, 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 and who he's going to keep fighting for, he's going to keep fighting for Corey's memory. And I would encourage you, President Trump has sanctioned, there's a GoFundMe for Corey's family. And so while we are in high spirits, we are certainly not forgetting Corey, certainly still thinking of his family and honoring them as we're here this week.
And President Trump's intention, as I understand it, is to go to Corey's funeral as well. Is that right?
Well, I won't get ahead of President Trump. Like I said, he's happy to be here in Milwaukee, and I won't get ahead of the president or his plans, but his thoughts are very much with Corey's family. And as I mentioned to your listeners, they want to donate to the GoFundMe for Corey Comparator's family. You can find that on our Trump War Room account, actually, I believe. Okay, excellent. Hey, and Caroline, can you clear something up for me? On Sunday, I was under the impression that President Trump decided to take it easy Sunday and went for a round of golf. This was getting around the internet. People were saying, oh, he went golfing. That's amazing that he did that. But apparently there's some dispute whether or not that actually occurred. Did he actually golf Sunday or no? Well, I won't speak to the president's private schedule, just that he was in very high spirits following the attack. And this still stands. Joe Biden does not have a 6 handicap in golf, and President Trump the offer still stands to meet Joe on the golf course anytime, any place, anywhere. Yeah, unbelievable. I hope that actually happens. That'd be great. Although at this rate, I'm looking at all these headlines coming in today, Caroline. I don't think Biden's going to be there for long. The left is actively plotting to remove him. They just pushed back his virtual convention in an effort to find someone else to replace him. Is Donald Trump ready to go against some other Democrat to be named later? Well, President Trump just survived an assassin's bullet. True. And within moments was back on his feet saying, fight, fight, fight. So not only is this a man that can quite literally dodge a bullet, but he has proved that he can take on, anybody, any place, anywhere, anytime. But also, look, there's a more important theme here, which is that it's time to unify our country, right? President Trump has unified the Republican Party behind him. That is very clear and on full display here this week. But as we move forward, we know the American people want unity. We know that the stakes are really high for this country. We know that certainly the American people aren't looking to the Democrat Party, who can barely unify themselves to unify this country. They're looking to Donald J. Trump.
We're expecting two big speeches in the nights ahead. Tonight, we've got the speech from J.D. Vance, now the running mate for President Trump. Let's start with him. Give us an assessment of what we could expect to hear from Senator Vance as he joins this historic ticket.
We couldn't be prouder to have J.D. Vance on the ticket with President Trump. I call President Trump the great American fighter. I think Ronald Reagan was the great communicator. President Trump, the great American fighter. And he has picked a fellow fighter in selecting J.D. Vance as his vice presidential nominee. Look, one thing to know about J.D. Vance, this is a Marine. Once a Marine, always a Marine. I'm really excited for the American people tonight. Some of them may be hearing J.D. Vance's name for the first time. I'm excited for them to get to know J.D. Vance and his unique American life story. President Trump has dedicated all of his political career to fighting for the forgotten men and women of America. J.D. Vance, of course, comes from one of those communities. A remarkable life story of his own American dream, as I mentioned, serving our country in the Marine Corps overseas. I think that's important, too, because today here in Milwaukee, we're talking about making America strong again. President Trump was the only president in the modern era to keep our country out of any new wars, didn't start any new wars. You saw him on that debate stage also mention that Vladimir Putin said he wouldn't have invaded Ukraine had it not been for watching Joe Biden's abysmal withdrawal of Afghanistan, where Joe Biden then also later forgot that 13 U.S. troops died under his watch. You remember that moment on the debate stage? Having a guy like J.D. Vance around, like I said, once a Marine, always a Marine, he's going to be a tremendous asset to President Trump when it comes to foreign policy and continuing to keep peace through strength around the world. So I'm really excited for him to also articulate himself on the issues that we know are most important to the American people. Of course, the economy, of course, immigration, but also his really unique stance and story as having been a soldier who fought in the global wars on terror, and sort of his political evolution on that topic and wanting to now keep America out of endless foreign wars that don't benefit our soldiers and don't benefit our country.
And the vice presidential debate, is that going to take place? I've seen some headlines today that Kamala Harris has apparently accepted a number of dates that she may be interested in doing. Are we any closer to landing a specific vice presidential debate?
Well, I won't get ahead again of President Trump or Vice Presidential nominee J.D. Vance, but as you know, President Trump didn't just win the last debate with Joe Biden. He did dominate it, and our offer still stands. We, debate anytime, anywhere, any place on President Trump's end. And we just couldn't be prouder, as I said, to have J.D. Vance on our ticket. And we're just looking forward to putting him in front of the American people in whatever forums that might be. As I said, it's time to unify the country. Yeah. We're really proud of our ticket. We think those debates are certainly important in helping the American people, cast their vote and get ready to unify our country.
We've got also the news today that former Trump White House official Peter Navarro has just been released from prison, and as I understand it, is arriving in Milwaukee today to speak. What can we expect from Peter Navarro?
Well, I won't get ahead of Peter Navarro either, but I will say everybody should certainly tune in. I speak for President Trump, nobody else, although President Trump often speaks best for himself and does it better than I ever could. But I would just encourage people to keep tuning in. There's a lot of excitement, a lot of hope, a lot of inspiration here in Milwaukee. We're hearing from great Americans every night. I don't know if you were able to catch and tune in to some of last night's viewing, but we heard from an American mother who lost her son to fentanyl. We heard from an American mother who lost her son. She laid it at the feet of D.A. Bragg, saying, my son was a combat veteran. He came home to the United States of America, his home. He didn't lose his life overseas. He lost it right here at home. Yeah. It's just incredible to see their honesty, to see their authenticity. As I said, this convention this week, as is this movement dedicated to the forgotten men and women, really a tremendous honor to have so many of them with us sharing their story. Each night holds something unique, and I just encourage all of your listeners to keep tuning in for all of the fun and all the joy we're having here in Milwaukee.
Okay, well then finally, Caroline Sunshine, let me ask you specifically a question about President Trump's remarks, because, and I know you don't want to get ahead of them, I understand that completely, but he's expected to give that speech tomorrow, and after the assassination attempt this weekend, I think he even said publicly that everything's kind of changed, that his speech is going to be very different tomorrow night than it was, at least in his mind, prior to the assassination attempt. Can you give us any perspective on what changed about what kind of address he's going to give?
Well, I think an assassin's bullet changed. President Trump came within a millimeter of cheating death, really. President Trump now belongs to a very unique class of people who have come to the brink of death and survived. Pretty remarkable. And as I said, the only thing more remarkable than surviving it, a bullet that came within millimeters of his head, is, of course, his reaction afterwards. I said, getting up to say, fight, fight, fight. And as I mentioned, he said that not for a specific type of voter, not for a specific type of American, but for our country. He's ready to unify this country. This country is ready for a leader to unify it. Part of unifying is strength. We have to fight for it. You know, I'm feeling a little old-fashioned today, I guess, on this topic. I'm just reminded that of all the American principles and ideals that we hold dear. And one of them, I think, is that Americans believe that good does conquer evil. If we have the courage to stand up and fight against it, which was exactly what President Trump did that day in Pennsylvania. And so I expect him to share nothing less than a very hopeful, inspiring message with the American people tomorrow. And nobody is in more of a unique position to speak to that than, of course, President Trump, given what he has just survived.
Yeah, the only thing I'm looking forward to more than that speech is the reception he'll receive when he steps up to that microphone tomorrow night. That'll be very cool to see. Caroline Sunshine, thank you very much from the Trump campaign. Always so nice to talk to you.
Thank you so much.
Be well. It is 3:49. WMAL. All right, let's go to the phones. Lots of calls about this attempted assassination of President Trump, as expected. Everyone wants to know what the hell happened. Bill's in Herndon, line 7. Bill, good afternoon, sir. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hi, Vince. Glad to talk to you.
Yes, sir.
You were speaking about the communication between the police officer who poked his head up over top of the roof.
Yep.
And saw the sniper and had to, duck real quick.
Yes.
And that he had gotten in touch with everybody, and it made it sound like the comm lines were open between local police and the Secret Service. Well, somewhere in the din of information that I was getting, all from Fox on Sunday about this, they specifically said that they were not on the same channel between local police and the Secret Service. So it just seems to be like a layer of, the lie that they put out at the time to cover up what might explain the 30 minutes.
So there's let's assess this element by element. So you've got what I was referring to is the two officers. There was two local cops who apparently went and checked out the edge of this building. One of them was the boosting cop. The other cop was the one who was on his shoulders and gets up to the edge of the roof, grabs it with both hands, pulls himself up, I guess pull-up style, and looks over the roof. The shooter aims the gun at him, and then he drops down. He falls off the roof at that point because he doesn't have a free hand to hold a gun. It's just two hands holding the edge of the roof. He collapses to save his own life. And both of those officers, according to the town manager, make an effort to radio this in to what he refers to as a blanket tactical channel. Listen to this audio again.
There's a threat right now to the former president.
They did. So both the boosting officer and the officer that fell were both on the radio, indicating that there was an individual on the roof that did, in fact, have a weapon.
Who did they radio?
So there was a blanket tactical channel being used.
Everyone heard it.
Everyone that was on that tactical channel heard it, yes.
How much time between that radio communication and the gun being fired at the former president?
That I don't have that information.
Okay, and an important language there. Everyone that was on that tactical channel heard it. You heard the town manager say that, Bill.
I understand, yeah.
So what that suggests, of course, is that there may have been people there who were not on that tactical channel. And that could include the Secret Service. Now, this is why I asked when I played the audio, were the Secret Service on there? Was the personal the personal protective detail for Trump, were they on that channel? Now, I've heard from sources who are familiar with this, the way that it usually works with the Secret Service. Secret Service operates on an encrypted channel, and then these local cops, ultimately there's a command center, a command post that handles these communications between these agencies. Even so, you would think in Secret Service. So you would think in 2024 they would know how to quickly get that particular mayday through, wouldn't you? Like if you're a cop and you see a shooter who's about to take out a protectee of the Secret Service, Don't you think that this would be a little bit more frictionless? Like they would have figured out a while ago how to do that?
Yeah, you would have, and especially what rang with me was that they had information 30 minutes ahead, as you know, that there was somebody that was on the roof or attempting to get onto the roof. So if they had this blanket communication channel, that the Secret Service would have already known about it 30 minutes ahead of time, as opposed to the few seconds that it may have been between the officer dropping off the shoulders of the other one,
yes,
and calling it in and the shot going off.
A total mess.
But thanks for parsing that out about the blanket channel. So that may not have included the Secret Service.
You know what would be really nice, Bill? If the Secret Service would answer some damn questions, and not just to like ABC and 2-minute snippets, instead to the American people. Come on this show. We'll talk to you, Kim Cheadle. We'll find out all about your great relationship with Jill Biden and how you landed this gig. Stay with us. A lot more ahead. I've got Margot Cleveland in the next hour here on the Vince Coglianese Show.